How you doing, and welcome to Neither Real Music. I'm Ed, and this is Just Play It, my series dedicated to teaching music that I enjoy and showing you really easy arrangements of popular jazz tunes. If you've been following along, we've been looking at Autumn in New York by Vernon Duke, and today we're going to be looking at measures 13 through 16. This brings us to the halfway point of the song. After this point, we're going to start elaborating on some of the ideas that we've already done. Before we get started with this, please remember to subscribe and ring the bell so that you know when your next lesson is coming. So let's take a look at measures 13 through 16. So we're going to start out with a mocked C minor 7 chord. This is going to be done in our 8th position so that we can access a couple of melody notes. You could build this as a standard C minor 7 in 8th position, but it actually works better to leave some of the notes out so that you can get access to the melody. So we're going to be looking at my 6th string 8th fret, then we're going to skip a string, and we're going to go to my 4th string 8th fret, and we're going to skip a string again, 2nd string 8th fret, so that I can get my melody note, which is the note D, and head to E flat. But we're going to do this all while holding this chord. You're going to end up letting go of your note G so that you can access the E flat note. And from here, we're going to build a standard E flat 7 chord in 6th position. You're going to only want to play your middle string, so you're not going to play your high E string. This way we can bring that melody note G back in. From here, we're going to move our bass note up a string so that we can start a walking bass line again. So if we look at measure 1, that sounds like this. One more time. If you play this correctly, your 3rd finger shouldn't move from any of the chords. This is because C minor 7 and E flat 7 are very closely related to each other. From here, we're going to try to hold this note G for as long as it will ring. If it dies, that's not a super important thing, but we would like to leave that note ringing, so your pinky really needs to stay down while it's playing. When I play this E flat 7 chord, we're going to move our bass line, notice I haven't let go of this, to A flat and C, because this melody line should continuously ring from E flat into a mocked A flat major 7 chord. We're mocking it by just doing the notes A flat and C, and G, our melody note. In this case, we're leaving the 5th out of the chord. From here, we're going to move our finger up and once again create a bass line. So we're going to play E flat. So if we connect measure 1 with the beginning of measure 2, it should sound like this. As long as your pinky doesn't lift up, you're usually pretty good. From here, we're going to build a G7 chord in 5th position with my root on the 4th string. My melody note is this note B. And we're going to once again create a walking bass line. So G is going to move down to D. So if we just look at our 2nd measure, we have the walking bass line acts like a metronome. So it gives us the opportunity to have something to line up with a metronome to practice. It gives us a tick. When you play this authentically or you play it live, you might not follow that metronome so strictly, but it is good to know where you are. If we play measures 1 and 2, you'll end up with this. Now, in some cases, I try to establish the bar to get to my next bass line without having to move my finger. If you have to move your finger, that's fine. If you can establish your bass note before moving your finger, that's also fine. So it's up to you as a player. As we get into this next section, we're going to build a standard C major 7 chord, and our melody note is going to be on our first string. So this is nice because we have a G7 going to a C major 7. From here, all we're doing is adding in a bass line. So it's a C major 7 with my melody note on my first string, so my melody note's a G. Then we're going to play this note, G in the bass, back to C, and then to G on my fourth string. So that should sound like this. If we connect our second measure to the beginning of our third measure, it should sound like this. Okay? From here, we're going to use a substitute chord of E minor. So we're going to bring to a standard E minor chord, but we're going to stop on the note G. So we're not playing our first string in this case. And we're going to once again give a bass note of B. So our third measure is nothing but this C major 7 chord. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So the E flat minor 7 chord is the first 2 beats of our fourth measure. So if we start connecting things, it should sound like this. Notice the walking bass line helps us connect a lot of the pieces together. The walking bass line is probably the easiest answer to empty space in any jazz arrangement. It provides something for the listener to listen to and is usually pretty interesting to listen to, especially if you have a good bass line going in your song. Eventually, we're going to talk about how to fill those spaces in with melodic ideas, but for now, in an arrangement like this, we're just going to stick with an easy, simple idea. For the last 2 beats of measure 4, we're going to do a strumming technique where you can use your thumb dragging it down. So we're going to look at what looks like an A minor 7 chord. We are going to add the note D into that A minor 7 chord. So normally an A minor 7 would be like a bar on your 5th position, but we're going to add an extra note G, and we're going to add the note D in there. So you're going to strum from your 6th string to your 2nd. And then we are going to go to a D7 flat 9 chord with G sharp as a melody note. So what I like to do to make this chord is I just bar my whole 4th fret and put these 2 on the notes D, and then I'll skip a string and put this one on the note C. So when you strum this, you're going to have the D7 over A flat and our G sharp, or A flat once again, as the melody note. The reason I say G sharp is because in the real book, it's listed as a G sharp. So we end up with this sound. One more time. Now the strum works best because it's relatively quick to get to, and it also provides a new texture, a new sound that we haven't heard. So if we go from that E minor 7 chord, it really sets up getting into our next section. So let's take a look and put this all together. So we start out with a C minor 7 idea to E flat 7, bass line, A flat major 7, bass line, G7, bass line, C major 7, bass, E minor 7, bass, A minor 7, D7 flat 9. So it's a really cool sounding sequence. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to play it with a little bit of time, and then I'll give you a tablature so that you can follow along with. That is the complete tablature and not just little pieces of the tab. And this way you can have something to practice. So let's take a look at this with time and a tab. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, let's check that out with the tablature. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you don't get it on the first try, stop, rewind, try the sections with time and a tab again. You can always just pause and take a look at the music that's provided in this video and work on it without needing to try to catch up to me. Find your metronome, pick a speed that is a little bit more comfortable for you. I typically work at 60 beats for a lot of these songs because it's the tick of a clock, so even if you don't have a metronome, you can use a clock to kind of guide you. If you have any questions for ideas like this, please leave them in the comments below. Compliments are nice, but questions let me know that you're working on this stuff. If you're interested in trying to learn more, consider joining my Patreon. There's not much up there right now, but the more that people provide, the easier it will be for me to go into more depth and provide more ideas for the future. Please remember to subscribe, ring the bell so that you know when the next lesson in this sequence is ready. Good luck and good practice.